Hello friends, welcome back to our channel. It's really nice to have you here again today. If you are watching this, there is a good chance you have spent a decent amount of money on an iPad, an Apple Pencil, and maybe a fancy keyboard case. You probably bought it with this vision in your head. You sitting in a coffee shop, effortlessly organizing your life, getting straight A's, or dominating your work projects, all while your notes look like a piece of modern art. For many years now, over a decade, I've been taking almost all my notes on a tablet. And throughout that time, I've made countless mistakes, tried different methods, and slowly discovered what actually works for learning, memory, and understanding. Something I learned very quickly is that simply switching from paper to an iPad does not instantly make you a better learner, and it definitely doesn't magically improve your grades or your focus. In fact, most people end up doing the exact same things they used to do on paper, only now they do it on a screen, which means they are writing too much, remembering too little, and feeling like their study sessions are a constant cycle of reading, rewriting, forgetting, and repeating. Let's be honest for a second. For most of us, that iPad just becomes a very expensive digital notebook that we use exactly the same way we used cheap paper notebooks back in grade school. We write lines, we highlight stuff, we copy definitions, and then we forget everything 2 days later. Today, I want to fix that. We aren't just going to talk about which app is prettiest, we are going to talk about how to use this device to actually hack the way your brain encodes information. We're going to look at the learning science behind why your current notes might be holding you back, and how to use the specific features of an iPad to learn faster, retain more, and spend less time studying. First, we need to address the elephant in the room. Social media has ruined our perception of what good notes look like. You know what I'm talking about. You go on Instagram or Pinterest and you see these gorgeous iPad notes. The handwriting is perfect calligraphy, the color palette is pastel and coordinated, and there are cute little stickers everywhere. It looks amazing. But here is the harsh truth. Aesthetics do not equal learning. In learning science, there is a concept called the illusion of competence. This happens when you do something that feels productive, like highlighting a textbook or copying a diagram perfectly, but your brain isn't actually doing any heavy lifting. You are just moving information from the screen to your tablet without passing it through your understanding. You are acting like a photocopier, not a learner. The problem with most iPad note-taking is that we take the worst habits of paper notes, writing linearly, top to bottom, sentence after sentence, and we just transfer them to a glass screen. If you are just transcribing what a lecturer is saying word for word, you are wasting your time. You might as well just record the audio. To upgrade your notes, we have to stop trying to make them look like a textbook and start making them look like a brain. Your brain is not a Word document. Let's talk about the biology here. Why does linear note-taking fail? Think about how a book is written. It's linear. Sentence A leads to sentence B, which leads to sentence C. This is necessary because we can only read one word at a time. But that is not how your brain stores information. Your brain is a network. It's a messy, complex web of neurons connecting ideas based on relationships, memories, and context. When you think of the word apple, you don't see a dictionary definition in your head. You see the color red. You taste the crunch. Maybe you think of Steve Jobs. Maybe you think of a pie. It's a web of associations. When you force these complex, web-like ideas into a strict, linear list of bullet points on your iPad, you are stripping away the context. You are essentially breaking the connections that make the memory stick. This is where the concept of non-linear note-taking comes in. This is the secret sauce. This is how students who study half as much get grades twice as high. They don't write lists, they build maps. The infinite canvas advantage. This is where the iPad truly shines and where it beats paper every single time. If you tried to draw a mind map or a concept web on a piece of paper, you eventually hit the edge of the page. You run out of space. You realize you need to move a bubble to the left to fit a new idea in, but you can't because the ink is permanent. So your notes become cramped and messy, and you give up. The iPad solves this with one specific feature: the infinite canvas. Apps like Concepts, Freeform, or even OneNote allow you to zoom out forever. There are no edges. This removes the psychological barrier of running out of space. When you are learning a difficult topic, let's say the cardiovascular system or the history of the Roman Empire, you don't know how big the picture is going to get yet. With an iPad, you can start writing a concept in the middle. As you learn more, you can just lasso that text, drag it to the side, and make room for something else. You can rearrange your thoughts in real time. This dynamic capability is the biggest upgrade you can make. You are no longer committed to the first place you wrote something down. You can let your understanding evolve, and your notes can evolve with you. Every time you draw a connecting line on your iPad, you are physically strengthening a neural pathway in your brain. You are building a road for that information to travel on. The more roads you build, the harder it is to forget that information. The hidden benefit, finding the gaps. There is one massive hidden benefit to this nonlinear iPad method that nobody talks about. It exposes what you don't know. When you are writing linear bullet points, it is easy to hide your ignorance. You just write down the definition and move on. You assume you get it. But when you try to build a map, you might find yourself trying to connect two ideas and realizing, wait, I don't actually know how these two things affect each other. Does A cause B or does B cause A? You will stare at your iPad screen and realize there is a gap in the logic. This is fantastic. This is a moment of victory. You have identified a knowledge gap before the exam. Now you can go to Google or your textbook and specifically hunt for that missing link. Linear notes hide gaps. Nonlinear maps reveal them. I used to take notes like that too. Pages filled with long sentences, detailed paragraphs, and perfectly copied points from lectures or textbooks. When I look back at those old notes, I can see how little they helped me, because they were essentially just transcripts of someone else's explanation rather than a reflection of my own thinking. Everything was linear. Line after line, point after point, idea after idea in a single direction. And while this looks organized, the truth is that linear notes are one of the biggest reasons people struggle to understand and remember what they study. The reason is simple. Teaching is linear because teachers have to present ideas step by step, but real learning is not linear. Experts in any field, whether it's medicine, design, engineering, psychology, or anything else, don't think in perfectly ordered lines or lists. Instead, they think in webs. They connect ideas, compare concepts, relate causes and effects, jump between examples and principles, and link new information to things they already know.
Their understanding is structured like a network, not like a single road. So, if your goal is to learn the way experts understand their subjects, your notes should help you build those networks rather than trap you inside the teacher's sequence of points. That's exactly where nonlinear note-taking becomes powerful. Nonlinear notes allow you to organize information in a flexible, visual, interconnected way. Instead of writing huge paragraphs, you can draw branches, clusters, arrows, bubbles, and relationships. You can group ideas together, split big topics into smaller pieces, Compare concepts side by side and show how one thing leads to another. This is important because every time you decide where something belongs or how to connect it, you are actively thinking about the meaning of the information. And it's the thinking, not the writing, that actually creates learning. Writing alone, especially when you're just copying what you see or hear, doesn't help you remember. But thinking about relationships, rearranging ideas, and forcing your brain to make decisions about structure strengthens your understanding deeply. This is where the iPad becomes incredibly useful, because unlike paper, the iPad gives you the advantage of the infinite canvas. On paper, you're limited by the borders of the page. You can't visually connect ideas across multiple pages unless you flip back and forth constantly, and there's no way to zoom out and see the entire structure of your knowledge at once. But on an iPad, especially when using apps like Concepts or Freeform, you can zoom out to view the whole map, zoom in for detail, reorganize sections freely, add and remove elements without restrictions, and let your notes grow as big as the topic requires. This infinite space helps you create a true mental map of the subject rather than forcing ideas into small, fixed boxes or rectangles. But one common mistake people make, even when they use an iPad, is focusing too much on aesthetics rather than learning. They create beautiful notes filled with neat handwriting, colorful headings, perfectly aligned images, and lots of decorative elements. These notes look impressive, but they often contain very little mental processing. Copying diagrams, highlighting key sentences, or rewriting definitions in pretty lettering might feel satisfying, but it doesn't strengthen your memory because you're not engaging with the meaning of the content. Good-looking notes are not bad, but they should never replace the work your brain must do to understand. Many people also make the mistake of using the iPad exactly like a normal notebook, meaning they write long paragraphs, stick to rigid page templates, or take notes in the same linear style they used on paper. Others use wheel and spoke style mind maps, where everything radiates out from one central idea, but these often oversimplify topics and fail to show the deeper layers of relationships between concepts. Even if non-linear note-taking feels slower when you first start, it pays off because it prevents all the forgetting and relearning cycles that used to waste hours of your study time. Your first version of non-linear notes will often be messy, and that's a good thing. It means you're actively processing the content. After that, reorganizing and cleaning up your structure deepens your understanding further. So what is the lesson here today? The lesson is that technology, your iPad, your Apple Pencil, is a magnifier. If your study habits are bad, passive reading, linear copying, the iPad just makes you bad at studying, but faster and with more expensive gear. But if you apply the principles of learning science, active recall, dual coding, and nonlinear thinking, the iPad becomes the ultimate tool to support that. It removes the friction of physical paper. It allows your thoughts to be fluid, movable, and interconnected, just like the neurons in your brain. Don't be afraid to make a mess. Don't be afraid to delete things and move them around. Your notes are not a museum piece to be looked at. They are a workspace to be used. The goal isn't to have a pretty file to show your friends. The goal is to have a complex, sturdy network of understanding locked in your mind. Upgrade your process, and the grades, and the free time will follow. And that's all for today, my friends, and I've shared a lot of insights about the power of nonlinear iPad note-taking. Make sure to check out the playlist at the end of this video, and if you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment in the comments section below. Thanks for joining me and watching this video. If you like this video, then please like, share, and subscribe so you don't miss future uploads. See you in the next one. Bye-bye for now, my dear friends.